Hey, hello. Our schedule's still a bit out of whack,
Oh no.
if you hadn't noticed. But we're back to doing some of our ongoing series, so that's fun. Here with me is another person in the room where we record our podcast. How are they doing? How are you
I'm
doing?
a person? I'm a
Oh,
person? This is news to me.
here's this person with me. A person with a name, I think. I forget. We're all a bit frazzled.
Hello, everybody. I'm your newbie for the day, Tiger Eyes 45.
I am Noah, your host, and it has been 2 weeks since we recorded an episode, so you'll forgive us for being a bit out to lunch. today, today, let's see here. What are we catching? What had not been caught today? Oh yes, Babylon 5 season 2, baby. Our last best hope for peace. And it's going so well on the peace front. Am I right, Taylor? It has been going so well.
I mean, well is a relative term, and I don't think it qualifies in this instance in any regard.
It's so good. There've only been wars and Nazis and a plague that caused the extinction of an entire civilization. And that's
And
just 2020. This is Babylon 5 season 2.
shit! I knew it was coming, but I still wasn't expecting it.
Let me date our podcast exponentially by, mentioning COVID-19 as we talk about the series with the plague episode that's so good. And oh, and what a plague episode. It was already one of like my most kind of like the most iconic Bab 5 episodes in my brain. Plague episode is right up there. And then we went and lived through the plague episode, and so
I don't know if my brain has registered any iconic episodes. Like there's a few that stick out in my head, but not because I think they're iconic. Like I don't know. The ones that stick out in my head so far is the episode with Ducky from season 1 that clearly doesn't know what archaeologists do. And it's simply because they don't know what the fuck archaeology is or who archaeologists are.
the one with the tokusatsu villain as the monster of the week.
Yeah. The one with Franklin and the religious issue, the
Oh
child's
yeah,
life versus uh
that is definitely a classic of season
religious
one.
freedom. And yeah, those are in the episode where Jakar starts war after an entire colony of farmers was wiped out. Like those are the three that stick in my head.
Pretty iconic episodes there, and you didn't even.
Are they?
It's so man, it's so much. It's so much,
It's
and I didn't even
so
mention the
fun.
bit about how this is the season where we're dealing with uh not America being taken over by a president to achieve succession through shady means.
Oh shit.
I'm not saying that J. Michael Straczynski, head writer of Babylon 5, was prophetic. I'm just saying that maybe we're caught on a cycle here, and maybe there's some problems that need to be addressed in the fundamental systems of reality. And maybe we should keep watching Babylon 5 for further insight.
I'm just saying, if Simpsons can call this shit, I'm not shocked other series can too. You know an issue is bad when The Simpsons was able to call it out.
Yeah.
Like,
So, none of our usual questions are really worth asking. We already know you didn't catch the thing. I caught the thing. I
we
caught the
know when you caught the thing,
why I caught the thing.
who introduced you to the
We
thing.
all know the things that are in our normal generic schedule that we have planned out for every episode. If we ever start a Patreon, I was just thinking we should just share our game plans for every episode and make that one of the tier reward lists. I think
That
that
would be
people would
pretty cool.
appreciate seeing whatever is supposed to be the foundation of these chats of ours.
I feel like all the Bad Five chats are just character chats.
It is just character chats because Bab 5 is so like it's not character
Every
driven per
day.
se, but it's certainly character centric storytelling.
I was about to say, like, well, the characters aren't The characters are not the main point of the story, but they are integral to how the story unfolds.
Yes, that's definitely the case. It's very classic, high quality, American television writing.
I miss Takashima.
Man, you remember Takeshima and her coffee?
I remember Takashima and Dr. Kyle. I
Dr.
remember them.
Kyle.
I miss them.
Dr. Kyle got almost a name drop this
He
season with the
did.
return of Lita Alexander.
He did. And I loved it. I was so excited for that 5 seconds.
Allusion to Dr. Kyle, who does exist and was probably nabbed up by Psychor and will never be seen again.
We'll never be seen again. I'm sure he's having a bad time wherever he is in the Bad Five universe. I don't think he made it out alive.
Yeah.
Given everything that happened with the president.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Bad for him, bad for Kyle. So, how to do this, how to give a summary to people that haven't seen the show so that they can still engage with this and like enjoy it vicariously through our discussions, which I assume is most of the reason why people listen to this pod at this point, besides just like generally enjoying the way you and I think and also kind of clash. I have to assume that vicarious enjoyment is a major part of it. So how are we going to do this one? I mean,
Oh. You cover first half, I'll cover last half.
I'll see. Yeah, let me see what I can't think of. I've got like the actual first half of the season here. Okay, so you'll recall Babylon 5 space opera has been really it was hit hard at the end of season 1. We had blast after blast. Delenn was in a cocoon. The president was assassinated, probably. His ship blew up under mysterious circumstances. The Narn and Centauri War had just begun, as Taylor alluded to earlier. It was a thing. It was, in fact, a heck of a thing. It was all looking really bad. And season 2 started with things. Oh, yeah. And Garibaldi got shot in the back by one of his guys. Forgot about that.
He was passed out for a bit, and Londo and Sheridan. Well, not even Sheridan. Londo and Sinclair are the only 2 people who visited him. No one else gave a fuck.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Let's start out there. There is no Sinclair anymore. He was booted out under mysterious circumstances to an assignment on Minbar, and Garibaldi wakes up to find a new captain. Captain Sheridan.
You gotta love how Sheridan was booted out into Minbar, and the special assignment just says Delenn was getting booted out of Minbar politics.
Oh yeah, let's do that too. Delenn comes out of the cocoon not with wings, like we had all hoped would happen, but with human hair and more humanized features, which marks the second time that Delenn has emerged into a new season with much more kind of human features, and less makeup. So now she's like a human Minbari hybrid, a change she tells us she underwent to try and foster more unity between the previously at war species, but also kind of sort of she's fulfilling a prophecy that involves the upcoming Shadow War. But we'll get there. Don't worry. We'll get there.
But clearly she didn't think about it, because everybody's like, why?
Yeah,
everything was fine before you did this. Why are you doing this?
Literally everyone that isn't Kosh is like, hey, you're supposed to be a representative of our people, but now you're not really our people, are you? Or are you? What's going on? Why did you do this? This seems like a rash choice.
And she just refuses to give anybody answers besides, I'm still me.
I will not be taking questions. I am Delenn. I'm a brave hero.
I can do no wrong.
Heck,
go back to your rooms and accept this result.
Heck, maybe that's why the Vorlons sent an Inquisitor after her. They were also like, hey, whoa, we didn't say anything about this sort of sick body mod stuff. We just wanted to win a war.
Honestly, it's her choice and her body, and I'm totally down for that, but she does just brush people's questions off like, are you human? Are you Minbari? Are you both? And she's just like, I am Delenn. And everybody's like, okay, Delenn, you are Delenn. You look like this now. What are the doctors gonna do about your biology?
What are you gonna do when you find out that Minbari's skin and human skin don't work the same way, and also what a period is?
Holy shit, that's right. She didn't know what a period was.
She signed up for that. Imagine signing up for that halfway through life.
You would think that she would like try and talk to Franklin or like any human doctor about any of the possible changes. Nah, she just goes straight to fucking.
I'm doing it. Full blast. Human hybrid.
That's the difference between Delenn's transition and like a trans person's transition. Delenn went in with no knowledge, and a trans person goes in with as much knowledge as possible.
Yeah, and it's so like it's so very interesting, and I think it really kind of sheds light on a bit of her character, which I'm sure we'll get into further on. But you know mentioned during some of these episodes this sense of like Delenn's kind of like sense of entitlement to like going out and being a savior over like other people. This like sense that she can do this and that it's totally cool if she does this, and doesn't seem to like really think about what other people's perspective is, which is kind of, I think, typified when like the Space CNN interview episode comes around. And I love the Space CNN interview episode. It's all from the perspective of Space CNN. And like the interviewer is like, hey, we were just in a war and y'all killed like a lot of us. Are you like, are you sure you're not kind of like appropriating something here in a way that would be pretty offensive to a lot of people that lost loved ones in the war against your people, which again, you like almost annihilated our species in? And she's like, I don't know. Guess I'll cry. Guess I'll just cry.
Oh gosh, I really should stop laughing. But she really does just have this moment of realization and horror on her face before walking away.
She's like, oh, can we stop? Can we just stop?
Okay. But
yep.
Okay,
so
different now.
Delenn's different now. There's a war going on. It's not going great for the Narns, obviously, because they aren't sitting on a bunch of colonialism money.
Yeah. They aren't an empire.
Oh, let's see. You know, it's also a very episodic show, so that we'll stop and hit up some episode highlights. Just a couple of fun things that happen in the first half. Londo gets a few divorces with some of his wives, keeps the one that like is a jerk to him because he trusts her to be honest with him. She does not show up again this season.
I was really waiting for her to come and knock some fucking sense into him, and when she didn't, I was expecting the slave romance from season 1 to like kick back in and knock some sense into him. And when that didn't happen, I was waiting for Garibaldi to knock some sense into him. And basically, Londo goes through this whole thing with only Veer trying to knock sense into him, and that doesn't even work in the end.
Okay, let's see. Let's see.
Londo's just doing Londo.
Oh, one of the most iconic, or in my mind, Babylon 5 episodes. The Drazi have their political election's not the right word. They divide up into two camps, purple and green, and have a brawl. That episode's a classic. Also, the Technomages are there. The Technomages, just some wizards that are leaving the galaxy because, dang, things are looking bad. Better skip out before things go ugly.
But they aren't really wizards. They use science and make it look like magic.
It's definitely like the first Thor movie rules for wizardry.
It's like, hey, we're magicians, but we like to go by the title of wizards.
Like the Penn and Teller sort of magicians. That's what we are. We just like also do like humanities stuff in the background.
Yeah. Don't worry. It's all kosher.
We find out Dr. Franklin has been running like a railroad for like telepaths that are running out. And eventually like this railroad gets utilized to help get Narn refugees out of Dodge, because Franklin is like the only like good human character that isn't Ivanova.
Holy shit. Franklin is like the only motherfucker. Like, I love Susan, don't get me wrong. I love Susan, but Susan has not like
she's not doing that work.
She's not working. She's not thinking about like what are the humane aid shit she can do in her off time when she's not on the clock. She's all down to business and doing things by the book. And if you're not doing things by the book, just tell her. Just tell her, and then she'll cover it up for you, and that's as much as she's gonna do. Franklin, meanwhile, is like, yeah, so we got 30 telepaths out, and then we got some Narns in, healed them, and sent them on their way. They're alive, and the Centauri have no idea, so fuck those guys. Yeah, I think it's been a full week.
It's been a good week for me. You know,
It's been a
Franklin, the
good
only
week.
like character that's doing the work here that isn't Jakar, who's having an excellent season, by the by. Jakar, who's an absolute mad lad, trying to keep all of like the Babylon 5 Narns like from, you know, bringing the war here, but also maintaining the war out where it's happening and trying to get allies together and trying to keep a brave face up and maintain leadership without sowing disunity. So keep do the work, keep them together. Get some, get some allies. Try to win this war that is not going well. Londo is falling to his worst instincts, and he knows it, and he's still doing it.
He's just Alice going down that rabbit hole, but instead he's not even trying to grab a root to save himself.
Yeah, he's just jumping down that rabbit hole, and like whenever something bad happens and it's like, hey, this is a stopping point, he's like, no, it's too late. Like, his best friend from childhood comes around to the ship and he's like, hey, best friend, Londo, my dear friend, some of your closest allies who are helping you with this secret coup attempt are trying to get me like disfamed and like ruin my entire family. And then Londo's like, oh, don't worry, I'll work on it. And then the guy's like, nope, we're not going to help you at all. Don't you want to be a part of the cool team that is doing the coup? Stop trying to help this man. He's bad news. And then Londo's like, oh, well, guess I tried.
It's not that they're doing the coup. They did a coup last season, didn't they?
I think the Emperor dies this season.
No, the Emperor died last season because the Emperor had to die in order for them to start the attack on the colony. Because the Emperor wanted peace with the Narns.
Oh, yeah.
So they killed him, and then they attacked the colony. Then the war fucking started.
Good grief.
Anyway, he's done a coup.
We've done kind of sort of a coup.
Now to over other people.
Anyway, the point being, the friend like ultimately gets Londo to do a duel with him, like with swords, and then throws the fight, lets Londo kill him just so Londo can like have the right to all of his family, and so they won't be defamed and lose all of their status and power, and be potentially killed by these insurgents. And then Londo has a conversation with Vir at the end of the episode, and he's like, yeah, that was pretty rough. But yeah, it's one of these moments when we, it's too late. It's just too late. I'm sorry that it happened, but it's just, I can't do anything. Yeah. You just hardens his heart.
I killed my best friend.
It's so, Londo.
Okay. And then we get to, all the other humans are finally starting to realize shit is bad with the war. Like, it is so bad. It's gone beyond just, like, a couple of fights here and there with the Narn being able to hold their own. And now they are getting fucking annihilated. Mm-hmm. Everyone's realizing, holy shit, the Centauri aren't stopping. No matter what we say, the Londo isn't his people. Stop. We can't get our governments to turn against the Centauri because they don't want to get dragged in later. And then Sheridan is all like, Kuchin. And Lynn is like, hey, Londo, you do know this will only corrupt your own soul, right? And Lanier is talking to Vir like, why don't our ambassadors ever listen to us? And that, guys, that's because you're the assistants and they don't care.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But also, that's an excellent conversation.
It gets to the point where Sheridan tries to talk Garibaldi into talking to Londo and getting him to stop. And Londo's like, I already told him he was going off the deep end and that he wasn't going to have any friends left if he kept going this way. When he dragged me out to the bar and asked if we were still pals and begged me not to stop talking to him. And that was like 6 episodes ago, and he's still committing war crimes. I don't know what you want me to do, Sheridan.
It's so bad. It's
It's
just so
so
bad.
bad. Oh, Londo, you motherfucker. Garibaldi got basically nothing to do this season.
Yeah, Garibaldi has nothing to do. Back when he was like maybe Londo's saving grace, but now it's like no, there's no hope for Londo. Londo doesn't want hope anymore. He has decided that this is going to be his thing, and he has still got a grimace every time he realizes the thing that he's decided to do.
I don't know if Londo. I don't know if Londo believes there's actually no hope at this point. Not until the last episode. I would argue that he still thinks there's some kind of hope because, again, he makes little concessions throughout the season. He
Mm,
makes a little concession during his talk with Garibaldi so the two of them can still
mm,
be friends and have drinks. He makes a concession with Veer to help Veer's family out and to try and help his friend out when Veer convinces him that, hey, maybe
mm-hmm.
listen at least. He keeps making small concessions, but they aren't enough to change anything or his trajectory. And it's only to the three people who meant the most to him: his best friend, who he murders, his assistant, who is the only Centauri he can trust not to immediately throw him under the bus when something goes wrong,
Oh yeah.
because you know the other guys are definitely going to. And Garibaldi, who threatens him with violence anytime the two of them fight. Like, he
Eh.
threatens to space lock him twice. Like, London doesn't have London doesn't have many people he cares about, but the ones he does, he makes small concessions to. But they are not around enough, nor they have enough influence over him to make him realize, holy fuck. But it's I don't think it's until the last episode he really gives up on like being saved.
I really, I don't know. I think that it's there even as far back as Knives. You know, the episode where his old friend comes
Yeah.
back and talks to him.
I'm
Um,
actually resting on that section in my notes.
like it's episode 17 of the season, and there is that conversation that I mentioned earlier where Veer's like, "Hey, it's not too late. We could still do something." And then Londo is basically his response is, "No, I have made my bet and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch it fall through." He just straight up like hardens his heart, and he just like he knows that it's tragic and he's upset by the tragedy, but he is still unwilling to make a shift. And I think that that's the episode where I don't think it's an arc. With Londo, truth be told, I think it is a revealing of the reality of what has been there the whole time, which is that he has made this decision, and while at every turn he is astonished by what is happening and the reality, you killed 10,000 Nons, but also he doesn't like you say he makes concessions, but
They
they're
don't mean anything
they're
in the long
negotiable,
run.
they're smaller, they're minor like treaties, or they're patterns of behavior. The work would be stopping, running away from Rifa, and doing whatever it takes to get that faction out of power. But he doesn't want to do that because that's not what he wants. Because what he wants is what he gets in the end. Remember at the very end of the season, if I may just go ahead to where things are going here, um, the Narns lose the war. They try to set up a move that will destabilize the Centauri war machine. Their spies know about it, and instead of trying to counter it, they let it happen, and instead choose to attack
Attack.
the Narn homeworld with meteorites. They just
Yeah.
launch massive mounds of metal and stone, and this is the phrase that keeps coming up: bomb them back into the Stone Age.
And I really can't wait until I get you to play Mass Effect, because that's used not once, but nearly 3 times in the Mass Effect game series.
What a loaded phrase that is. That's a phrase I don't know about you, but I
I'm not
so
talking about
heavily.
I'm not talking about the phrase. I'm talking about the meteor using
Oh,
meteorites to destroy planets. Yeah.
it's so it is so bad, and Londo's there, and he's making his, "Oh no, look at the horrible effects of the actions that I have taken my entire life, the thing that I fantasized about from day one." watching it happen, being horrified by the reality, and not doing a thing. And in at the end of the
And
episode, oh, sorry.
he doesn't feel the need to do anything. And that's like, and Garibaldi, they all stayed out of it because they felt like there would be a way to negotiate through this with the ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
On Bab, that didn't work. And when they realized it wasn't working, it's too late at that point for them to really do any good. Franklin's the only one who's been actively partaking and taking a side in this and trying to help the refugees. And he has to do it all under the table because he has no idea if the other people on Bab 5 will support him or not. If the other people in charge would even let him still do it.
I think that really that's sort of the core of it, you know. I love Ivanova's speech at the end of this season, you know, and there's a line in it that gets used in like the intro of the next season, and it just so effectively captures the moment that the show is in. You know, she says, "Babylon 5 was our last best hope for peace. It failed.
It
Negotiation
fucking failed.
you know, this sort of diplomatic negotiation ultimately wasn't enough to like fend off what the people truly wanted to happen. The people in
But
power
that's the
wanted this.
thing. That's the thing. It could have been. It could
At
have
every
been.
single step, there were options. There were people there that wanted to change this. Like the moment when, you know, oh, I'm pretty sure I could be wrong, but let me double check something. But there's that moment in the episode with the Emperor when he arrives.
In
Uh,
season one.
in
In season
season
one.
one, uh, you know, that moment when just before the war begins, you know, Jakar sits down with Londo, and he's had this moment of revelation where he realizes there can be peace. Maybe the two of us can work together, and he doesn't know it, but Londo has already sent
Signed a death warrant for
he has
all of
already
his
sent
people.
the shadows off to attack quadrant 37, like to kill a bunch of farmers. It is edit there were windows there were chances there, but this is the one he won, and at the end of the season he gets the thing that he wants. I love this scene at in the last episode of this season. The war is over. The Narns have been taken over. They've been forced to surrender. It's not the last episode. We've got a few episodes after the Narns lose, but there's this moment in
Where he's just humiliating
yes.
Jakar in the assembly room and hall, and he's telling him, "You are now under arrest. You're no longer allowed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
You are not an ambassador, and we are going to send you back to Centauri Prime
Yep.
and have you murdered after your trial." And
Yeah.
everybody else is like, "No, no, 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 no!" And Londo loses it. He just yells at Sheridan and he shuts him down. He yells at Delenn. He just takes control of the entire room, which is something Londo's never been able to do.
Yeah, and
He's
it's not
never been able to like establish his dominance or his presence in the room to a degree where everyone else had to shut up and listen to him.
He has this weird history of being silent in the corner or being or just shouting at Jakar. Those are the two moods of Londo up until now. When he has this, it's kind of a breakdown. Would that be a good word for it, you think? Like,
I think I would definitely call it a breakdown, because even while we were watching it happening, I was like, oh, this is a mix of him finally getting to tell Jakar off in the ways he's always wanted to,
yeah,
and desperation, because he knows if anyone's going to kill him, it will be Jakar. And if he doesn't get him off of Bab 5 now into Centauri Prime where he can die, Jakar will murder him, because he's already seen his death.
Oh yeah, and he knows that Jakar is the one that kills him.
It's desperation and finally glee mixing together in this spiraling mess of speech.
It's funny you'd say desperation, because what I saw as the desperation was that this is him trying to get his one prize. You know, all this talk of all the horrible things and watching them and feeling a bit grossed out by him, this is what's supposed to make it worth it to him. This is him trying to extract the catharsis that he has been waiting for. This is him trying to get as much joy as possible, cause as much pain in this moment as he can, because if he can't like find the worth in this moment, then he is genuinely a monster, and he has done horrible things for nothing that is ever going to pay him back properly.
But if you go along with that thinking, then he must have realized he is a monster, because I don't think he enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that's the tragedy.
The way he looks so stressed out and in pain while he's trying to shut everyone else down and stay control and get rid of G'Kar as fast as possible. The moment it's all done, he just looks so tired and old. And like, don't get me wrong, I don't think any of the characters on the show are really that young, which I appreciate, because I hate it when everybody looks like they're fucking 18 to 24.
Oh yeah.
But he looks so much older.
He's
in that one moment alone. And it's so, and he knows the moment G'Kar, the moment Sheridan stands up and says, actually, G'Kar has asked for sanctuary before the defeat, and we have granted it to him, as is my right as the captain of Babylon 5. And so he is not going anywhere with you. He will not be put on trial. He will not be forced to leave.
Oh, yeah.
And he just steps in and shields G'Kar, who is the last surviving member of the government of the Narns. And in that moment, I really feel as if Londo realizes, fuck, I am going to die.
Yeah.
I didn't go back to Centauri Prime because I didn't want to be an emperor who died on the throne to G'Kar's hands. But I'm going to die.
And that is when the pettiness kicks in. That is when this like desperate urge to have something, to get anything out of all the horrible things he's done. And that's when he just starts having a screaming fit. He's like, no, G'Kar is not an ambassador anymore. He is not a representative of Narn. We have the right to choose who represents Narn, because Narns are ours now. He is a citizen. He has to leave this room now. His only prize is getting Narn kicked out of the room. And nobody says anything. And then G'Kar stands up. He's been quiet the whole time. And then just like destroys Londo. He doesn't
really does.
He doesn't attack him.
Oh, G'Kar.
He doesn't shout at him. He stands, and with every ounce of dignity in this entire ship, he looks at the whole room, and he tells them, tyrants can't win forever. His exact words are, though it take 1,000 years, we will be free. And then he walks out.
And nobody's able to stop him from leaving, but Sheridan does step in and prevent Londo from kicking him off of Bab 5, because that's all he can do in this moment. And afterwards, Sheridan goes and seeks G'Kar out and offers him a hand and allyship and promise him they will try and do their best. And G'Kar just has to stare at his hand and realize, the last time I shook hands with anyone,
and he says this,
my people were destroyed. Londo shook my hand with a smile and then killed thousands of farmers and started this war. And Londo had just made a speech in the room about how, before demanding G'Kar was gone, he was like how the Centauri had to do what they did because the Narn started the war because they declared it first, completely ignoring the fact that they attacked a farming colony, and that is why the war started, because they were being petty. And they hated the fact that G'Kar won that planet for the Narns in the negotiation room. Because that is why they targeted that planet. G'Kar fought for it and got it, and as an ambassador who was more skilled than Londo, and Londo sent the fucking shadows. And that was, motherfucker put him up.
It's so... It's so much, and it's so I think that what I think for what epitomizes this season is like if we want to talk 3 act structure, I don't know 5 act structure. I think Babylon 5 maybe it fits 5 act structure because it's a 5 season show. Probably doesn't because the 5th season was kind of a surprise. But 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 we're still kind of sort of in the first act, strictly speaking.
I
In
I I don't think it would fit a 5 act structure because with a 5 act structure, there's a lot of well, maybe it would because 5 act structures are exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouement.
actually maybe it does then.
Because like the climax would be the end of the war, the falling actions, everything happening after the end of the war,
That's
and then the
yep.
denouement is Kosh. The Kosh reveal, which does not feel like it matters.
Well, the series does a 5 act structure, maybe not the season, but I think it would be fair to say that we are still in rising action or an introduction because what we're seeing now I don't think could be called arcs in a lot of the characters. Like there are arcs happening, I guess. Delenn and Sinclair, I confuse them all the time. Do you know they have the same initials? Their first names both start
They
with
do.
J.
They do. I know they do. That's why I just call them the captain.
John Sheridan, Jeffrey Sinclair. John
Yep.
Sheridan, who is here right now and is like with Delenn. The only kind of big arc that's happening is with him and Delenn and their like blossoming relationship, really.
I
Everything
don't care.
else is kind of like, is more revelation. It's more like, okay, let's put them in a different scenario. Let's see what is essential to this character that has been there that we just haven't seen.
I don't know if I agree with that
Oh, really?
because there are definitely arcs happening in here that are not just revelations.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jakar doesn't change.
It's funny because Jakar was gonna be my example of someone who doesn't change.
Jakar doesn't change and Delenn doesn't change.
Yeah.
Yes, Delenn's appearance changes, but she doesn't change.
Yeah.
She is the same at the end as she is in the beginning. And Jakar's the same at the end as he is in the beginning. It's just pride and then no pride. That's it for Jakar. And like, while that can be a character arc, it doesn't I wouldn't count it because it doesn't stop him from acting the way we expect him to. He's still trying to get in there and be an ambassador and manipulate the room in order to be on his side. He's still trying to work his way into situations that no longer include him, even when he's not the ambassador
Mm-hmm.
anymore, because he knows he has to benefit his people. He's still speaking out against the Centauri, even though he could get arrested. He's still out there helping his people connect with their families
Mm-hmm.
and doing stuff as much as possible to keep up their just hopes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all stuff he was doing beforehand. He's always listened to the people. He's always listened to the Narns on Bab 5 and done his best to represent him. Even when it meant making enemies out of all the other alien species in the council room. And now that's biting him in the ass. That's the arc with him. And he doesn't really change. But there are other characters who do.
Mm-hmm.
And Sheridan changes a lot.
You know, that's fair. That is very fair.
Sheridan changes a lot, and he definitely has an arc. He has a lot of like small arcs that are working together to build to his longer shadow related one.
Oh, the shadow arc. We're gonna get there.
Because like there's a lot of small moments that build up, and the first half of the season is just revealing who he is and how he reacts to things and why he was chosen, mostly to piss off the Minbari and why he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it shows how he's grown since the war,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't see the Minbari as their enemies.
Yeah, and that's sort of the
But
big
he knows-
surprise.
But he knows that that's why he was chosen to
Yeah,
piss them
because that's
off.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then the rest of the season is just him slowly proving to everybody else that he's not that same person while trying to keep the government off his fucking back.
Yeah.
And one of the moments that really like I feel like causes a lot of change in him before he finds out that the shadows are real is the what's going on with Winters and the Psi Courts.
Oh, the
'Cause
Psi
more he
Court.
sees-
Ooh.
the more he sees the Psi Corps try and control her and other people's lives, and when he sees that they have to fake the death of 100 different like telepaths just to like keep them from getting forced back into the Psi Corps, that really changes where he stands. And when he's like, oh fuck, there is a lot more going on here, and I need to like take more action instead of just having to wait for Franklin to point out to me how horrible this all is.
Oh man.
Because again, Franklin's the moral backbone of the team, everybody.
Franklin, by the way, who when the Narn Centauri War was about to end, had information that could have saved the Narm homeworld if only Jakar could have convinced, the military leaders to listen to him. Ooh, Franklin is the best.
Franklin is the only guy who's like, okay, so this is fucked up and wrong, and I'm not gonna stand for it. Fuck this.
My man was like,
I'm not
free
gonna be
healthcare
neutral.
because I said so. The man was like, Underground Railroad? I've done that. I'll do it twice this season. Screw you.
It will be one super underground railroad that just helps everybody.
The maddest of lads. I mean,
it's just like
informant for a military population that is getting annihilated because of colonialism. Abso-fraggin-lutely, I'll do that.
Even though like my father is being sent to like fight people in the same situation, fuck that. That's not gonna stop me.
Do you have any idea? I am Dr. Stephen Franklin, you absolute fools.
But I think it's really interesting that he is the moral backbone.
Yes.
Because his episodes are the ones that have nothing to really do with the evil president plot or the neo-Nazis plot or the fucking war plot.
They're just the moral question episodes. They were the Star Trek episodes.
They are the ones, I don't know about that. I don't know if I would go that far. The few Star Trek episodes I've seen didn't really have me asking any moral questions. But he is the ones who are like, okay, you know what? It's time to make y'all think about stuff that isn't just supposed to be so obviously bad. Like, neo-Nazis are supposed to be so obviously bad, and they're condemned by this series, and they're supposed to be bad. But like, then you got Franklin's like religious freedom versus life of children question, and then his whole like, there's a disease that is murdering an entire.
It's time to talk about Dropha. The Dropha episode.
It's time to talk about the Dropha episode.
What is it called? I have my notes on paper, as you can hear, dear viewers.
You can see them too.
It's called Confessions and Lamentations, Season 2, Episode 18. Probably one of the best episodes of the entire show, frankly, in my opinion. I think it's just really good.
I gotta agree. It is, like, out of all the episodes and everything that has happened, the stuff that has stuck, as a first-time viewer, having no idea what the fuck is coming next, there have been 3 things that have stuck out to me during the season that are just in the front of my mind as we talk about this whole thing. And that is, 1, the war situation and the Narns. Because there are so many references throughout the Centauri and like the non-war to different battle strategies and why they worked for some people and why they didn't work. And I just was constantly thinking about that, and I realized from the beginning of the season the Narns weren't gonna win, and that fucking was depressing as shit. Like, no, they weren't gonna make it out.
There's no winning this for them. You don't win against fake space England.
As soon as Earth and the Mabaris like refused to support them, I knew they were gonna lose, and that broke my fucking heart. But then you've got the Franklin episode with the Marcabs and the disease, and how that proves who's morally just and clean and who's not, even though it doesn't.
Do you want to
and then the telepath shit?
Oh yeah, and those
are the 3 things that stuck with me.
war. We have plague, and how humans aren't good at, and human aliens aren't good at reacting to plague. And then we have all the stuff that's going on with Psychor. And who boy, is there a lot going on with the Psychor.
Oh, there's a lot going on with
There's a lot going
Psychor.
on with Psychor.
They're definitely backing the neo-Nazis. It just hasn't come out yet.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
waiting for it.
absolutely. I have to believe. I have to believe.
They are backing the neo-Nazis in this world. They are like part of what is it called? Night Watch?
Night Watch, yes. There that's like cuz like okay, so
God.
there's like back on like before Night Watch showed up, there was the Earth First movement that we were hearing about, the literally like alien phobic like
Yeah.
groups rising back on Earth. And then here the new president takes over, establishes the Ministry of Peace and the Night Watch division, which
Uh,
turns out it was a bunch of fascist nationalists trying to get people to just think on everyone around them. Who could have seen that coming?
yeah, there's all that going on.
All
And
that
then
is
in the
going on.
middle of it all, you have Franklin being
Franklin.
a motherfucking king.
So let's talk about Confessions and Lamentations. Let's do a summary of the episode. Frankly, y'all, if you were to just jump in and watch one episode of this season, would it be
It
fair
would
to
be
just say
that
this
one.
one? This is the one you watch.
You don't need like you if you know all the characters' names, it's all you need to know. You need to
Yeah,
know their names and jobs, and then you'll understand everything
that is
because it's all tightly wrapped up in in
this.
this episode.
This is the
They can
closest to a
stand
bottle episode you
alone.
get.
If there was going to be one thing that was an entire movie set in sci-fi that wasn't following like some chosen hero,
Mm-hmm.
this would be the episode I would want as a movie.
Yeah, it's so yeah, Contagion, but in space. It's so ooh, it's
And what
so
about it stands out most to you, Noah?
well. Why let me give a
You gotta
summary
give the
first, and then
summary
I will
first.
answer
Sorry,
that
cool.
question. Okay, so
I'm like I'm already jumping into
yeah,
analysis.
we're so bad at giving context for the Bab 5 episodes. I'm sorry, there's a lot going on. Listen to the intro of any of the season we're talking about specifically, and that will give you the context you need. Okay, so the thing that's happening in this episode, it starts out with Franklin noticing that a specific species, the Markabs, uh, are having a lot more deaths than usual, and they're all keep getting filtered through this one Markab doctor who keeps saying, no, it's natural causes, don't worry about it, except there are a lot of them happening in a matter of days. And Franklin's like, okay, I'm Dr. Franklin. I know, like, how to use my brain, so I'm just going to, like, perform a couple of closer inspections on some of these cadavers. And he's like, oh no, oh no, there's something here. It's a
Like, dude,
plague.
the Markab doctor even realizes shit. The moment Franklin looks, he's gonna find out
Oh
the
yeah.
truth. Hey Franklin, you sure you want to do this? And Franklin's like, listen, my friend, you are a close you not coworker, you are a close peer of mine, and I trust you. But I have to double check this as the head of medical staff on Bab 5. I just need to double check since it's concerning me. And he doesn't disrespect him or like try and accuse him of lying or anything like that. But the moment he finds out the truth, he's like, okay, so you finally gonna admit what's happening here?
Are you gonna
Because
tell me?
like we need to have a conversation about this, and either I could call Garibaldi and we have it in a cell, or you could just tell me right here and we can figure this out together.
So here's what's going on. You see, in ancient Markab history, there is an island called Draffa that was famously that is remembered for its immorality, for their excesses, for their degeneracy, for all of their what's the other word that fascists love? You know, they're oh,
Sins.
it's yeah, they're just sort of sins. They're just sort of all sorts of evilness going on here. Very gross, disgusting people. And a plague hit it. And at the same time, the island was trapped by, I think sandstorms is what they say, for a year. And when the storms go away, everyone is dead. And this sort of disease, as the years goes on, got the name Draffa, the Dark Angel of Draffa. and it sort of became a specter used to frighten children and, and everyone. It became a symbol of the vengeance that lies in wait for anyone who is practicing immoral behavior. It is what you get if you are sinful or unclean or in any way, immoral. And then
And before you pointed out,
yeah.
like, the similarity between it and the propaganda that was spread around about how people catch AIDS and how was complete bullshit and some of it's still complete bullshit, my mind jumped to the Black Plague, because that is also like the same propaganda that went
Mm-hmm.
around about the Black Plague, and that only sinners caught it.
Oh yeah. Of course that's the one that, Franklin makes a comparison to when the time comes. He's like, AIDS, a fake disease that hasn't happened yet, and the Black Plague. Let me tell you about the Black Plague. And it's very clear. Every point he makes is, this is this is people who are trying to moralize disease. This is people who are that are turning being sick into your own problem, and in fact into something that you deserve for your disgustingness. Anyway, turns out Drawfa was not killed off by the sandstorms. That disease, by Drawfa I mean the disease. The disease Drawfa was not killed off by the sandstorms. It was lying dormant, and it started popping up on some of the distant colonies. And it happened a few years ago, or even, was it about a year? Is what he says. About a year ago, they started popping up, is what the Markab doctor says. But they started hushing it up. Families didn't want people to know that they were immoral.
I think it was that the civilian ship that went missing a year ago pops back up on Babylon 5's radars, gets brought in, and everyone is dead, and then the deaths started happening around Bab 5.
I think that there's I think they find a civilian ship that had left and was traveling while the plague had already started. I think that Markab Doctor specifically says that it had started earlier. I just remember that because it pairs so well with certain of other events in recent history and how those disease started in the background, in the distance, and there was already, like, if you were listening, you knew that things were going to happen and it was going to be bad.
In my notes, I just have it that the civilian ship went missing, and then everyone was found dead on it, and now 4 Markabs are dead, and Franklin thinks something weird is going on, but no one's telling him shit yet again.
I think the disease.
So mad on Franklin's behalf.
I think the dead ship is the turning point when he finally forces the doctor to explain what's going on. And the doctor tells him, nobody wants to say that it's Drawfa because nobody wants to be the one to accuse people of being immoral, so we keep silent. And it is now government policy, what does this sound like, to not talk about this plague that is supposed to only kill the immoral and the disgusting and the unworthy. And now it's everywhere. And Markabs...
If you so much as accuse another person of having it, then who's to say you yourself will not catch it?
It's so bad. And now their silence is weighing down on them because Markabs are dropping like flies. And it's up to Franklin and this doctor and his team of staffers to figure out what to do before it, keeps killing people, before it jumps species, before any number of things start happening. And it is a mad rush, and it is feverish. And you're watching the social fallout, and you're watching the people in charge of Babylon 5 try to figure out, okay, how do we do this? How do we protect the Markabs from the disease, from the other species as they begin to realize this, and the panic sets in, and they start to blame the Markabs and start to worry about their own safety, and if it jumps species and gets to them, what is the thing to do? It is so, how are we going to react? And eventually the decision gets made for them. A bunch of the Markab say, you know what, we're going to go into isolation, we're going to pray, and we're going to come out of that vault, and you know what, we're going to be the only survivors because we're praying and we're clean. And so
we are the chosen ones.
We are the chosen ones.
And nobody wants to work with Franklin and get tested to see if they have it and be watched so he can work on a cure. No one is set for, hey, the Markab doctor, who is supposedly a close peer of Franklin's, who we never heard of before this episode and we'll never hear of again.
And it turns out is also infected.
Yep, and he knows he's infected.
So he goes in to perform an autopsy in the isolation lab, and he stays there until he dies
Yeah.
because he knows that's what's going to happen, and that's what he wants to happen because he realizes that he is he is not the only one culpable, but he feels a culpability, and he's going to do the work. It is so rough as we get to the end of the episode. You know, the doctor that Franklin is working with is dying, and all the other doctors are exhausted and they've gone to rest. But you know, Franklin is staying up and he's taking drugs to stay awake and keep going. And
Which he always does.
he
Every
is
time Franklin has to be the one person to pull the ship back together. He's always taking so many stims to stay awake, and there's like so many times where he only sleeps for like 15 minutes in 10 days, and it's concerning how often this gets repeated.
it keeps happening.
Your doctor should not be sleep deprived.
Maybe don't do space meth if you're a doctor. I'm just saying.
Nah, but it's not meth. It's totally proven to be fine.
It's totally fine in prescribed specific doses.
You just experience some slight side effects that could happen with any drug, apparently. And Susan's like, go the fuck to bed.
Yeah, that's her response.
You're going to bed.
You're going to bed. Anyway, Susan
is not the mom friend, but she is the older sister who will kick you out of the fucking living room.
She abso-fraggingly will. Meanwhile, Delenn and Lanier, but mainly Delenn, and Lanier follows her because he's a puppy.
He's so... Lanier is so much like the nice guy, but not... He's not the kind who you're worried about turning... He's not the nice guy who's secretly an incel the whole time.
He doesn't feel entitled to, I think is the distinction.
He has no entitlement. He just is that nice guy who's willing to let everyone walk the fuck over him because he's so in love with the idea of Delenn.
He is like...
And being near her.
He is doing it for Delenn. Everyone knows he's doing it for Delenn because he loves Delenn. It's not... I mean, it's not like a thing that people talk about, but it's not like hidden. It's pretty obvious that he is ultimately devoted to her. She clearly realizes it. And he doesn't expect anything in return. He's just going to do it because that's what he sees as the thing that he is to do. And
but, like, here's the thing. You think if Delenn was more responsible, she would, like...
Stop him?
Confront him about it and then stop him. And she tries to in season 1 before she makes the final change. She tries to stop him from joining her when confronting the council, and because she doesn't want his life to be ruined. Yep. But in the end, she doesn't stop him.
Yeah.
She does not realize as his boss, she needs to stop this now.
And to what degree? I don't know. Can we... Yeah, it would be the better thing to do, but how much can we begrudge her wanting to have a single person from, like, her home that is also an ally to her?
It's not that I understand that she wants an ally from her home world to be with her on this journey, as she's definitely going to go through some confusing times. It's just that she knows this can ruin his life and is a foolish decision. But she's so desperate to not be alone, she's fine with him taking that risk. Yeah. Just like she knows it's not safe to take him into the quarantine because this is at the point when the disease started. The disease has started jumping species.
And so
it's getting closer and closer to human and Minbari physiology. And Sheridan tries to stop them from going in, but Delenn's like, no, I belong in there. I need to be there because I can help.
They want to go in and they want to provide comfort to the people, to the Markabs, as they go into their self-imposed quarantine here.
And Lanier's like, if Delenn is going in, I go in. And you would think maybe as his boss, she would stop him. But no, once again, she's so desperate to have someone come with her on this journey of hers. She just lets him make the foolish decision to walk into a plague zone where they know somebody has to be affected because people are already coughing as they go in. There's no restrictions or anything. This is self-inflicted.
This is, I don't know. She knows. She absolutely knows what's going on, and she needs comfort too, and she isn't willing to make the tough decision that would hurt her and be the right thing for him.
I just I understand why she does it. And again, it's like it's her choice and she's allowed to crave comfort and companionship when she's going through such a confusing time in her life. I just I don't
It's
like
unfair to
the
Lanier.
dynamic
Yeah.
the dynamic between them makes me uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
I don't like how easily she just ignores the fact she has so much authority and influence over him. She
Yeah.
just ignores it. It's not
Yeah.
like Nataf and Jakar,
Yeah.
where like the two have respect for each other, but and Nataf will always be there to support Jakar, but Jakar
Has
literally tells her, "Hey, I might die in the next day or two, so
go.
you should probably be ready to get your shit in order in case I do."
Yeah, Jakar is an eye towards her future and her like betterment. Like
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, you're going to go off, you're going to have a career. I'm totally glad to have you because you're the best assistant ever, but eh,
This is not your last stop.
yeah, and I'm not going to become reliant on you for my emotional needs in a way that Delenn does become, in a way that is unfair to Lanier, and is a dynamic that we will see continue on in the future seasons. And
Oh, God damn
I'm curious
it.
to see what your thoughts are on that as it develops further. That because that is a running motif.
It makes me so uncomfortable.
These unrequited
This whole
love is an as yet unexplored motif in Babylon 5, but it is going to arrive and it's going to be a rough when it hits us.
And it's just all that whole episode has so much shit going on. It's like when you really see that Sheridan actually cares for Delenn and worries for
Yeah.
her safety, but she has too much pride to rely on him the same way she relies on Lanier, because Lanier is kind of an exception
Yeah.
to her independence. And during this whole thing, everyone else is just trying to keep people from killing the Markhabs.
Yeah. And there's
While
nothing yeah.
Franklin's trying to save them. And in the end, everyone dies.
Franklin
Not
yeah,
everyone on the ship.
but
Literally every Markhab in existence dies.
Franklin at the very last minute finds out how the disease operates. With the last bit of advice from the dying, Markab doctor, he's able to put together a treatment plan that could build up an immunity. And not just that, but could also be a cure. And he prepares a bunch of doses, and he rushes off to the quarantine zone. And they open it up, and the only two living things in there are Delenn and Lanier.
And it just, I don't know. This is another thing that bothers me about Delenn. She has such a savior complex. She thinks she can help everyone. And she doesn't go in hoping to provide just some comfort in their trying times. She thinks she can help them.
Well, I would argue she doesn't think she can like cure them or anything. I think that genuinely small comfort is what she's doing. She brings in blankets. She's helping a kid find their mom. She's trying to just attend, I think, is what her goal is. I think if the show has a failure here, it's that it never really shows the Markhabs attending themselves. It makes it seem like only Delenn is capable of entering this space and giving them this aid.
Maybe that, and plus all of her other like hero complex shit is what's making me like look at that moment in such a poor light.
Yeah.
Because it really feels like she's not going, to me, it did not feel like she was going to try and provide comfort for them as they die. It seemed like she was convinced if she and Lanier go in there and help them in any way possible, then someone would survive. And that's not how it works. That's not how anything works. You have to wait for the medicine.
I think this brings up an interesting point. I think I think the biggest flaw of this episode, and the way and how it relates to the rest of the series. But so they go in, all the Markhabs are dead. Delenn calls Sheridan by his first name for the first time, and it's a like horrible, tragic moment and kind of a turning point in their
Yeah.
relationship, which some of us like more than others. Others are
I
reluctant
don't
to see a good
care.
friendship turn into a romance, um,
I
especially
just
between those characters. And it's but moreover, as we learn as the episode comes to a close, nobody there wasn't enough time. Despite Franklin's efforts, which it's never explicitly stated, but presumably helped keep Dratha from infecting other potentially infected species. It wasn't enough. The Markabs are all dead. There may be some stray survivors out in ships or on distant colonies, but the civilization as it existed is gone.
and there's this asshole sitting next to Franklin, excuse me, talking about how good riddance because they almost took down the rest of them too.
Joking,
And
yeah.
Franklin's just like, you son of a bitch. And he gets
Yeah.
up and he walks away. I don't even think he says anything to the guy. He just finishes his drink and walks away.
He already sees it. It's already happening. The
This
the ISN special report is, over for a few seconds, and the guy is already joking about how funny it is that billions are dead.
the same thing's gonna happen with it that happened with like the Black Plague and AIDS, where the victims are going to forever be blamed for the reason why they died.
Nothing
And
ever changes.
and then you get another Underground Railroad plot line with Franklin. So a couple of episodes later, where he's now helping Narn refugees
Yeah,
too.
because of course he is.
He's the only one. He's the only one providing G'Kar with any heads up about what's happening in the war, aside from G'Kar's government. He's the only one like trying to give him little hints and clues about what the Centauri are doing, because no one else is saying shit because they don't want to get involved.
It's oh boy.
And G'Kar has this whole thing where like he feels like he no longer has any allies on Bab 5, but I feel like Franklin is probably his only ally.
Yeah, it's definitely an underutilized dynamic in this season, the unity between the two. So I think the biggest flaw in this episode, I think the Confessions and Lamentations biggest issue, we've already said it, kind of, we've implied it, and I think you can put the pieces together already. We've said that this is an episode you can see without the context of the larger series, and that's in part because the Markab have never appeared before in this show. There is no ongoing Markab character that dies. We've never seen this doctor before. The word has never been mentioned before. The Markab are an entirely new species, invented for the purpose of being obliterated at the end of the episode in which they were introduced. And in that way, and in that same way that, like, Delenn, we don't see them providing their own comfort in the way Delenn wants to provide comfort. We don't see any other, like, Markab volunteers also working with her to hand out blankets or anything. There is this distinct sense of distance between us and them. And there's an argument that could be made that imposing that distance is a great way to try and get us more involved with the darker side of this sort of victim-blamey culture. A lot of the reasons why things like Black Plague and why AIDS especially, and I think AIDS is specifically what is kind of being commented on here as the most recent kind of pandemic when at the time of the writing, is that a lot of this sort of hatred and fear was prompted by an unfamiliarity with the actual population that was at most risk for the disease. And there's an argument that I think could be made that, oh yeah, of course you have a species that we haven't seen before and have no familiarity with. That's partially the point. Their alienness is what is part of what adds to the fear. But also, I think that's a failure to tell all sides of how the story works. And that's the point, right? We're trying to understand empathy and perspective. And I think that the failure of the episode is that the Markab need to be full persons in a way that all the other regular species get to be, and this one doesn't.
Yeah, there's that too, but here's the thing. While I can understand why they would create the species just for the episode to drive a point home and to keep people from getting attached to them just to kill all of them off, even though you're supposed to be practicing empathy. The whole thing about it is this isn't the first time the show has done this. They Franklin episodes have the biggest issue with this. And I love Franklin. I love Franklin's episodes. But like
Franklin's
every
episodes
single time,
standout stuff every time.
every single time there's somebody Franklin's an old friend with or Franklin works alongside, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They get a couple of lines with him and they help him in the end realize what he has to do, but they never come up again. You never see them just wandering around the ship casually, even though they're supposed to work with him sometimes, and sometimes they're just people who he keeps in contact with and references, but we never see again. Even his father hasn't really been mentioned, except for once by Sheridan asking for Franklin's opinions on war. That's it. Franklin, it feels like, keeps getting isolated by the show to stand alone always. He doesn't get to hang out with the other crew as much. He doesn't, and maybe that's because he's running an underground railroad.
Dude's busy. I don't have time for coffee and chit chat.
Garibaldi, do you think I have time to put up with your fucking police bullshit? No, I'm busy.
Do you think I'm ever
breaking
comfortable
your
with you
laws.
maximum copping in the same room as me?
Never, bud. But like,
He's definitely
the issue with all of his standaloneness is that they never let him keep any ties or connections with people. You have something going on with him and Susan where they're friends and they understand the moral values of each other and why they have to take the certain stands that they do. And they support each other when they need to. But in his standalone episode, Susan is not there as much as the character usually introduced to help him through that episode. No one is there consistently for Franklin the way that you have 2 or 3 cops who are on Garibaldi's team who you know. You have the one guy who looks like Rob Stark in the command room that works directly under Susan. You've got the ship pilots who you recognize again and again until they all eventually die.
even the ambassadors all have their aides.
You don't get that with Franklin. Franklin doesn't get any familiarity to him. He doesn't get any consistent faces.
Yeah.
It's like the cast around him constantly gets switched out to make him feel as alone and as isolated as possible. And I hate that because he's doing so much. And I want the other characters to interact with that.
I don't know, maybe that's...
If I had to pick one wish list thing that if I could just make it happen in the next seasons, even though they've already been written and aired years ago, it would literally be Franklin confronting everyone else on the command staff about why the fuck did y'all not do anything to help the Narn sooner?
Their absolute culpability.
Yes.
That would be sick. And there's a lot I don't remember about the show, especially the later seasons. And that may be a thing that comes up to some extent. And I hope it is.
I could just imagine Garibaldi being like, well, what did you do? And Franklin's like, boy, what didn't I do?
Pulls out space blackboard. Let me tell you. I think, okay, let me posit a theory for you here. I think what happened when it comes to the world of writing for Franklin, I think that his, like, context as being the doctor of the ship kind of trapped him in a way. He doesn't get to engage with the politics. He doesn't get to engage with the military action or the changing in government. He is specifically kind of relegated to environments that are either kind of tangential to just any kind of act of violence or specifically involve kind of broader ethical medical questions as they kind of crop up. And as a result, he gets like...
It's not...
that he doesn't logically, like... From a Thermian, like, in-universe explanation, this is why he, you know, I think he just doesn't naturally crop up in other episodes more often. And also, when he's the center of an episode, as we've established, they're the big moral question episodes. And those are a lot and the way this show handles those are very episodic, but not in a way that connects to any of the broader serialization. Because the two can work together. Like a serialized show that ties together with episodic stuff can be excellent. Like literally the last episode, Knives with Londo and dueling his best friend, like new character we haven't seen before, but also building on Londo's ongoing arc and establishing some pretty clear moments of like Londo refusing to arc, I guess, refusing to have an arc, to be like, no, this is how I'm going. Like that's excellent synergy there between drama in the episode to drama the episode connects with overall. Whereas Confessions and Lamentations is just the episode and its story and the point it's making, and that's kind of what it's got.
So I also kind of wonder if maybe it's not just the fact that he's the doctor that has locked him into that place, but also because he's the only like person of color on the ship, human person of color on the ship who gets to do anything.
That is also probably a big part of it.
He's the only person involved in the Underground Railroad until he finally convinces Sheridan to help out, and eventually Susan to turn the other eye. And like, it kind of says something that your only black character is the one who's running the Underground Railroad. And I know we've been talking about how like he's the guy stepping up and doing shit, but I kind of wonder if it's because he is black that they put him in that position, even though they haven't directly talked about that yet in the show. And I don't think they're going to. I think you could just pick up on the fact that that's why.
Hey,
because history has not been erased. You know what the fuck is going on, even if Texas tries to change its education laws and requirements.
Yeah, that is absolutely a fair assessment, and that is just there. That is just a thing that is there and part of the show. And I'll be curious to see how that plays into future arcs.
Him and the Narns.
I really want more of him and the Narns, and I think that's the one thing I don't think we get, which is really frustrating, because him and the Narns, because of course it's got to be Sheridan, because as we find out in this penultimate episode of the show, which it looks like we'll be fortunate enough to not get into, we won't have to talk about the Inquisitor episode. Y'all, the Inquisitor episode is a lot. We're probably going to do like a tweet thread about it, one of us at some point, because we are Can y'all just
stop bringing back Jack the Ripper and other real people and serial killers in media? Can y'all just stop? All writers everywhere, can y'all just stop?
Oh boy. Have y'all seen Lindsay Ellis's video about the history of the use of Jack the Ripper? It comes up. Anyway.
I haven't. It's just something that annoys the shit out of me. Because he's always there.
This specific episode comes up is, I guess, what I meant. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so we won't get to that. We're just going to keep talking about Franklin here. And hot ding dang. It's so... The thing that, like, I think Franklin doesn't get to have relationships with the Narn because it's got to be all about John, and it's got to be all about Delenn, because they're big and special. And as Jack the Ripper tells us, they're actually the chosen ones, and they are the right people at the right place at the right time. They are totally awesome and epic, and they are going to go do the epic chosen one thing. And if you think that's going away, I have some really bad news for you about the end of season 3.
I don't think it's going away. I just think that all of the show is going to focus in on them, and then it's going to leave G'Kar in the dust. And I feel like G'Kar is where the emotional backbone of the story is right now. Because I'm not gonna lie, even when like Kasha's face gets revealed, I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I know I've said this earlier in the episode. And here's the thing: I was so hyped to see Kash. I couldn't wait. I knew it was gonna be an amazing moment. I was so ready for it, and then he showed himself to save Sheridan, and you never find out if Sheridan was able to like after that convince people to help the Narns or not, because that was the meaning. The meaning was Sheridan was in trouble for helping the Narns and had to apologize to the Centauri, but Sheridan was talking about maybe taking a stand and siding with the Narns then, and Jakar was there trying to get people to help Sheridan because he didn't want to get him in trouble because he needs an ally, and also because he doesn't want Sheridan to face negative consequences just because he's trying to do the right thing. And like there was all of that happening, and Kosh decides I'm going to show myself to shave Sheridan, and then nobody talked about what was supposed to be talked about. It all switched to Kosh, and I didn't care. I want to know what the fuck is happening with Jakar. Where is he? Did he get out safely? They all seemed like they were ready to fucking tear into the Narns. Where are the Centauri now? Are they away from Jakar?
That is so. I just at this point, I don't. This has not been my experience on any previous rewatch, but I just don't care about Delenn. I don't care about Sheridan. I care about like I care about the other human characters. I care about Ivanova. I look forward to seeing a lot of them fight like all the horrible things that's going on Earth. I look forward to seeing more about Jakar and Londo and the Narn Centauri conflict. I'm happy for all of that. I don't care about the shadows. I don't care about Kosh. I don't care about all of that nonsense, especially because I know where it's going and I'm already starting to like where it's going less. Sorry.
I don't even know where it's going, and I was so ready to see Kosh and to see if any of my guesses were correct, and in that moment, it seemed like he just stole the spotlight away from where it needed to be, which was on Jakar and Sheridan, to see what Sheridan would do in that monumental moment. Would he take a stand against his government and stand with the Narn, or would he apologize to the Centauri and play nice with politics? And he gets the fucking cop out of that. And I fucking hate it.
The mystery of the Vorlons, like they first showed up, is like, oh, these ancient species that only shows up in these big old suits, but they want to be a part of the Babylon 5 Council. I wonder what that's about. Like, that's intriguing. That's exciting. And then we spend the whole like.
He doesn't do anything.
And then he does nothing. He does nothing for
nothing.
3 years.
He gets Jack the Ripper to torture Delenn.
That's the biggest thing he's had. That's the biggest impact he's had on the show.
And I'm sorry, but I don't care. Fuck you for that, Kosh. I was really hyped about you. I wanted to know more, and then you saved a serial killer, gave him a redemption arc we saw off screen, and brought him back to torture Delenn just to tell her she was right to believe she was the chosen one.
Well, I think redemption arc is a strong word. I think redemption arc is a strong word.
Well, he literally says how he's spent these last few hundred years working to redeem himself for his past sins. So off camera attempted redemption, and I just don't care. That was a fucked up move, Kosh, and she just walked out feeling the exact same way she felt before, but knowing Sheridan likes her. And I don't give a fuck about their romance. I barely cared about her and Sinclair's. Talia is gone, okay?
Oh yeah, speaking of romance, there were lesbians in this season, and then the gays got buried in a special, fabulously powerful way. They buried those gays super hard. Like, wow, I didn't know you could bury gays so quickly and so powerfully.
And it feels like all of Winter's like plot points got cut off just to kill her. Well, just to take her out of the situation because she got to have a romance with Susan.
Here's a touch of the realness for you. That actress just like, I can't remember why. I think she got something had come up. I think it was a new opportunity or something, but she left the show. That's why that happened. That's if that feels like it came out of nowhere. It's because that was the writer's like backup plan for them when they wanted to leave the show. Because like this guy had like plans for every main character. If they wanted to leave the show, what would happen to their character? And this was Winters. But also he had also he had wanted to do this arc with her and Ivanova because clearly that had actually been planted in advance, not the thing that happened to Winters. So they just paid it all off. They went like, okay, we're having coffee. Okay, we're sleeping together. Wink, wink. It's very like,
and then it's over. You know how awful it is that I'm so used to being told I read too much into things and they aren't as gay as they might come off as to me, because I saw them sharing a bed and my first thought of, man, they look so cute together, but I bet it's just supposed to be girlfriends having a sleepover thing instead of them being actual girlfriends.
Ugh.
I saw that, guys, and I didn't even realize they were supposed to be an established relationship. I thought,
It's
man,
so
this is great material for fan fiction later, but I doubt that's what they're actually trying to do.
that was what they were trying to do, but they were being subtle because it was the 90s. It was very like there's a lot there. I hope Matt Baum does an episode on it. He mentioned Babylon 5 at some point in a recent episode, and I would love to see it, and Matt Baum do an episode about specifically that
I don't know
relationship
who
and the
that is.
context. Gay YouTuber that does a lot about American television and the history of queerness as represented there. Really interesting stuff. A special focus on sitcoms and some Star Trek.
It's just, it feels, the actress wanted to leave the show, and that's fine. It is what it is. But it just, gosh, the way it hurts Susan so much.
Oh yeah, it's brutal to Susan. Who?
And
Oof.
Jakar is already losing everything, and I don't know where Natoff is because she keeps disappearing.
Natoth is
She
just.
appears to watch Jakar make a speech, and then she disappears in the background again, and you're just like, Natoff, wait, no, come back. Where are you going? Are you going to get murdered, or did you also ask for safety? What are you doing, Natoff? Lanier, I don't need you right now. Go away. Talk to Veer some more. Natoff!
Veer is having regrets, but also not enough to do anything.
Dude, he straight up. I love that moment. One of my favorite moments in the entire series is when Veer's in an elevator with Jakar. And it's not like Jakar was trying
This
to
is
force
post-war
him to talk to
crimes,
him.
by the way.
Yeah, this is post-war crimes. This is after Jakar is no longer an ambassador. Um, and he's just stuck in an elevator and he feels so awkward. He feels like he has to say something, so he tries to apologize.
They
And
don't
Jakar is
listen.
just
They
like,
never listen. They don't listen to me.
wait until the elevator opens, pulls out a knife, and Veer thinks, fuck, I'm gonna die here. Maybe I deserve it. He just has a face like, I'm just gonna accept death. This is it. This fucking sucks though. Fucking Londo. And then Jakar goes and cuts open his hand. And he says, every drop is another life gone. How do you apologize to the dead? How do you apologize to them? And Veer just stammers like, I can't. And Jakar's like, then I can't forgive you. And he leaves. And I think my absolute favorite part of that isn't even Jakar establishing that I cannot forgive you for all the life that your people have taken. But it's the fact that Veer literally tried to start that apology by saying, I'm sorry, but, Londo doesn't listen to me. Londo did all this. Londo is the reason it's happening. Instead of realizing he's his assistant and he could have left at any point in time.
If anybody could have, or been a spy, or done, like, literally anything to help
Or,
the
like,
Narns.
he could have been a spy. He could have fed some information to Jakar when he found out the homeworld was going to get attacked. Like, the only person who gave Jakar a heads up was Franklin, and Franklin was operating under guesses. He's like, listen, the Centauri are pulling away from planets randomly. They don't do that. I'm worried about you guys. Last time this shit happened, the Mabari attacked Earth, and we nearly all died. Get your stuff ready. And he could have helped confirm that because Jakar didn't have enough evidence, so his uncle didn't want to listen. And so he dies. Everybody dies because Jakar didn't have evidence. But if he had a Centauri spy help confirm this shit, maybe it could have gone differently. And Veer just wants to act all innocent, like I'm just doing my job. Your job is getting people killed. You need to do better. Everybody in the show needs to do better. I'm looking at the cop that accidentally joined the neo-Nazis and is just now realizing they're neo-Nazis. Like, you need to do better, whatever your name is.
Dang it, Zach Allen. You're blowing it. So,
it's
a long season. And not just because
It's
we
a
took like
long
5 months to get through it. Uh,
Holy shit. Was it that long?
Possibly 6 months by the time this episode actually airs, a month from when we record it. Uh,
Mm.
so, but it's really, really good, is the thing you have to understand.
It's so good, and I'm loving it. And oh, I kind of wonder if maybe we should do like some side episodes
Mm-hmm.
that are only like 30 minutes long or something where we pick specific topics like the character foils in the show or something to discuss that's just about Bab 5 since we never have enough time to get into everything.
I kind of was. I
Episodes.
had an interesting proposal that I was mulling over bringing up that might involve giving us more airtime to just like talk about stuff that maybe doesn't make it to like full edited and uploaded episodes in other contexts, but is just a chat for live stream and maybe also video. But anyway, that there could potentially be room, I wonder, in the future for us to just like jump away from what we've recently watched and just talk about things that have been like really exciting for us as part of the show, just background appendices and notes and fun stuff. I would love to do that. I would absolutely love to do that, and I think that there's a way that we can incorporate that into our schedule. And boy howdy, do we need to start working on that schedule, because have you seen what has been happening to our production line? Do you guys look at the past few episodes? I don't think we've been able to predict the next episode for like a month now at this point. It's been exciting. A month of
Well,
episodes. That's not even a month of real time. Life is
to be
weird, guys.
to be fair, I have been
And
moving.
I got a new job, and then I went on a vacation in the middle of there for some reason to see family. Like, there's been stuff happening because lives are weird and complicated, and we're just having fun here. But anyway. So before we end this, I don't need to reflect. I don't think you need to review. We're both having a good time. We're definitely moving forward with whatever we're moving forward with. I do want to hear. We've talked about characters. No character rankings today. We're gonna do. I want some predictions. Specifically, I want to hear what are. We've talked about arcs that we want. I want to hear from you. What are some arcs that you think you can see getting planted? Can you? I want you. Can you
So,
predict like for some of the main characters? What do you think? Or some of the major like conflicts? What do you think is gonna happen next? What do you think?
I have literally been thinking about this ever since
Mm-hmm.
we watched that final episode and recorded our reaction to it. I have been thinking constantly about what's going to happen next. And one of my biggest hopes was that Winters would come back and we'd finally get a fucking reaction to her being a telekinetic as well as a telepath now. But since the actress left and that's why her character left, I know that won't happen and I'm sad and disappointed. I really, I really want. Okay, this isn't something I think will happen, but it's something I really, really, really want. And I want Franklin to drag Susan's ass into like, hey, yeah, I know you don't want to break laws, but you need to start stepping up more because you know what Night Watch is. Yeah, I know what Night Watch
Oh
is.
yeah.
We are the two who know we need to step up. I know you were pretending to like side with them a little bit before because of your ex-boyfriend and they needed a spy on the inside, but like you already dropped that this season. So Susan, you might as well work with Franklin on the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
You might as well. I
It's.
really want those two to work together to save lives. And I don't think it'll happen, but I really, really want.
Yeah. Her little showdown with like the head of Night Watch is great, especially like as like the one kind of main ongoing like recurring Jewish character facing down the head of you know all
And
of
it was
that.
so uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable watching her try and dance around them because
Oh
she was
yeah.
supposed to act like a spy who they thought they could use to get Sheridan to agree with them. And when that wasn't working, they came out to her fully to ask to try and recruit her. And she's just like, "Nah, I'm
Mm.
not. No. Do you realize who I am religiously?
Like
No."
I know what's going on. I know what you are.
this won't be happening.
It's not going to happen. Your
Goodbye.
people will not be hearing from my people. So, what else?
Um,
What else? Want Franklin to make Susan start acting right.
I not even to make her. I just want her to realize, shit, I need the help more. And
Yeah.
Franklin's the only person being the moral backbone. I want her to join that team. I want Londo and Garibaldi to sit down and have a conversation. They only had two this entire season, and one was Garibaldi being like, "Hey, you're gonna start making a lot of enemies and losing all of your friends if you don't cut your shit. I'm trying to get you to help me to stop this so it doesn't cause us problems." And Londa's like, "Fuck you. Okay, sure, buddy. Will you drink with me?" And Garibaldi's like, "I don't think that's a good idea." And he's like, just sit down and I'll drink." And Garibaldi's fine. "I won't leave you alone. We'll hang out a little bit." And then Londo goes and immediately throws himself back into war. So
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have a conversation. I think they're gonna have a conversation in season 3 because they seem to only get one per season now. And I think it's gonna be Garibaldi cutting ties with Londo, and that sucks, and that's gonna suck. But I think it has to happen at this point. He has to cut ties with Londo because Londo's not gonna listen. Londo's too far gone, and I think Garibaldi is maybe gonna make good on threatening to punch him or kill
Oh
him.
boy.
Oh God, is he gonna kill him? Not in season 3. He won't kill him in season 3. I don't think he will kill him because I think Jakar's going to. I think Jakar's gonna get that final kill. I hope he does. Oh, Kosh is going to have some religious significant importance on Londo identifying himself as a person, and if he believes in religion or whatnot, what the fuck ever. Kosh is going to cause Londo to become self-reflective, and I don't care.
So you're thinking Kosh is going to cause self-reflection in Londo?
Yeah. And I just don't care. He's an angel. Whoopee. Oh gosh, could have been so many other interesting names, but nah, Kosh is an angel, and all species are programmed to be cool with his species. You know,
Except
we really
for
got to do a Mass Effect episode. Except for fucking Londo didn't see anything, because that's why I think he's going to be self-reflective, because he didn't see anything. And the shadows don't listen to their people. You know, it would have been cool if they were dragons like the shadows seem to be.
Okay.
Or fodder skeeters.
Is there anything else?
Sheridan and Delenn are gonna end up together, and I hope Sinclair comes back as a jealous bitch. Oh, he's gonna come back and be like, "I'm so happy for you, Delenn, but I really want someone to try and fuck up Sheridan and Delenn's relationship, because I them to end up together. It seems like she's just getting forced with the captain of BAP 5 because that's what they wanted from the start. So that's what they're gonna do. And
Any guy will do.
Care.
Any white guy in charge of Babylon 5 will do.
Any white guy in charge. Oh god.
Volcel Lanier will not be getting.
Garibaldi.
Yeah.
Garibaldi's gonna get a girlfriend.
Okay. Garibaldi girlfriend.
That's gonna happen. I mean, Londo's already stopped. They've already stopped, like, having him and Londo talking to each other. Garibaldi's gonna get a girlfriend soon.
Garibaldi girlfriend.
It's just gonna happen.
Those
are my guesses.
That is... Okay, I've got those written down. I'll be reviewing those as we come around in another 6 months for the next Bab 5 episode. Or whenever it happens.
Oh, man. Jakar...
Now you can watch them on your own now. They're on HBO, right? And you've got it, so you can just watch. Oh, and you can watch the cool remastered versions with the like new re-rendered special effects. So like you can tell me about how it still looks terrible. It's not that important in the grand scheme of things that you see a dated 70s sci-fi movie in its original dated 70s sci-fi glory.
I mean, I did give Star Trek a try. That seems to be dated.
It is definitely that.
Oh, we gotta do a Mass Effect episode soon because there's like so many tropes used in Babylon 5 that are in Mass Effect that we need to discuss them.
Do I need to do like a speed run through all 3 of the Mass Effect games? Do I have to like?
No. What you're going to do is you're going to do a true playthrough of all 3 games, and I'm going to tell you everything you didn't discover.
Oh boy. Maybe oh man. Maybe I finally get a gaming rig and we just like half of the show becomes me just doing a Mass Effect let's play.
Dude, the voice actor for Kaidan in Mass Effect is the guy who voices the main companion we have in that Star Wars game.
Yeah, I do remember.
Mr. Whiny! It's his voice, and I didn't know, and I was listening, and I was like, this is Kaidan! It's just funny because I thought he was whiny before I heard the voice, and now I think he's a little less whiny after hearing it.
And
His
more
dialogue is
frankly.
so bad, though.
Oh boy. We have gone over our time because we always do. Not always, but Bab 5 our Bab 5 episodes get the best numbers, so I think that our fans deserve to get a little bit of extra special, especially after having waited a long time for this episode.
Hey, there's more to come.
There is a lot more to come. Don't you worry about that. And maybe more so than we already think, it sounds like. Maybe we'll be talking about new plans to get you more Bab 5 stuff. But with that being said, I have no fragging clue what's going to be up next week. I have no idea. Maybe we'll just jump into the sci-fi summer, which at this point is a sci-fi September, given when episodes actually get posted.
We'll record it.
We'll record it in the summer, and that's really what counts. I'll be wearing my Hawaiian-ish shirts, and we will be doing the cool stuff. Maybe, or maybe we'll finally...
Tacky.
I like tacky. It's sort of the one loud aesthetic that I buy into. Said the woman in front of a million, like, tiny knickknacks.
Fuck you! I got this one from my great-grandparents and started the whole collection, and you know what? I don't regret a shit. A single thing! Fuck off! Get off the shelf! I don't work on it! You brought up the knickknacks, and now he's trying to destroy them. I blame you.
And on that note...
I've been your newbie, Taylor.
And I've been your host, Noah. And y'all have finally caught Babylon 5 Season 2.
Yeah! I'm so glad Susan and Winters was a thing for however short it was.
Oh my gosh. Hey, fan art prompt, Susan and Winters. And also literally anything with Jakar and his aide whose name escapes me. Nata! That's the prompt. Send us free, unprompted, unpaid for artistic labor. Or just like use that as a prompt for your own creative inspiration. Do whatever you want. This has been
I really need Jakar just giving Sinclair a secret call like, Sheridan's fucking up, Sinclair, where are you?
Just writing to... It's like that one scene in Twilight. He's just writing to an email address that keeps sending back no response. Like, where are you? Sinclair.
Like, Sinclair, you're the only guy besides Franklin who might have done something. Where are you?
You actually had like a moral backbone, which is kind of weird. Oh boy. Hey, did anything get broken there?
No, nothing got broken.
This
He knocked one off the shelf, but she's fine.
Wonderful. Good relief to everyone listening, I'm sure. This has been You Didn't Catch That. No ceramic animals were harmed in the making of this episode. I hope you all have an excellent time. Take care of yourself. Go have fun. Have a breather between now and the next podcast episode. You deserve a bit of like quiet contemplation. Or do whatever you want. I'm not your dad.
Have a nice night, everybody. With that, I'm out.
Thank you for watching the video. If you liked our discussions on Babylon 5 Season 2, please subscribe to support our channel. Likes are wonderful and greatly appreciated too. If you want to see these episodes get made before they go up on YouTube, you can find links to our Twitch channels in the description below. We record the episode on both channels at 9 p.m. EST on Tuesday nights. So, what was your guys' favorite part of Season 2 of Babylon 5?